What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Tosh, and I really didn't want to have to make this video. I wanted to make a video about something good. You know, we could talk about the crazy shit that happens in the NBA all the time, and I don't know if this is something good, but at least it's not something bad as this. You know, we think about Charles Oakley last night in New York. That was pretty crazy. The Knicks, just what is going on with their management. The Heat are on a 12-game win streak right now. There's, you know, a few things to talk about, but nothing is as disturbing, as important, significant as these things. And you know, I didn't make the video initially when the first injury of Zach Lavine happened, but I have to now because I really have to address this, and it's just because this is huge news, terrible news, but nonetheless huge news. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, comment or down below for a video, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into it. About a week ago, Minnesota Timberwolves guard Zack Lavine, third year player at a UCLA, super young, extremely talented shooting guard, averaging roughly 20 points per game on a Timberwolves team that was absolutely loaded, still is absolutely loaded with young talent. They can't put the pieces together this year. They haven't been able to do that, but you can see the potential. It's there. You know, their point differential isn't terrible. It's just they're not very good at closing out games in general. And then, if you know, he tears his ACL, something terrible that you don't want to see happen to anybody. But the fact that it's a young player with so much potential, this is one of the high flyers in the league. This is one of the most athletic players in the NBA, one of the fastest guys in the NBA, probably the top vertical leaper in the NBA. We know he won the dunk contest back-to-back years. You take a look at guys who've had the ACL injury, and I'm specifically talking about Derrick Rose because this is the worst case scenario for an ACL injury, I think. You know, because when you look at a guy like Zach Lavine, we're not going to say he's just a dunker, because he definitely isn't. I mean, he's putting up 20 points, and it's not like he's just dunking all of his points. Okay, he's a great three-point shooter. He's got a really nice handle. He can score from anywhere on the floor. But his athleticism is a huge part of his game, a part of his game that we love. He doesn't rely on it as much as he used to, and it's good because, you know, some players like Derrick Rose relied on athleticism a ton, and, you know, guys that rely on athleticism so much, it's going to be hard for them if, you know, they don't have that same bouncing ability, you know, just the same lift that they get. You know, it's hard for them to be, you know, the same. Now, Zach Lavine can definitely be the same. He's extremely young. We've seen players tear their ACLs time and time again. And a lot of the time, you know, it hasn't been a terrible result. They've been able to come back, like Jabari Parker, for example, who we're going to talk about. Jabari Parker. The worst part about Jabari Parker's injury is that he's already torn that same ACL in the NBA already. Crazy to think, but also terrible. I mean, he tore that ACL, he came back, and he's having his best season, in almost all-star caliber season. If he was on a better team, if his team had a better record and he's had those same numbers, he would probably be an all-star, because he's been that good this year. This is another guy that's been tremendous. The 2014 NBA draft class, producing both of these guys, Lavine and Parker, super young, super athletic, exciting prospects, and two extremely unfortunate injuries. And I'm going to break both of them down. I'm going to start with Jabari Parker, just because this was the most recent one. This one is a bigger deal, honestly, because Jabari Parker, like I said, he's already torn that ACL in his right knee. Now, Jabari Parker initially thought this injury was going to be a knee sprain, and I did show you guys the clips in the beginning. I don't want to see them again, so we're just not going to show them again. And like I said before, Jabari Parker having this amazing season. The guy is growing. Okay, he's 21, I believe. If he's not 21, he's 22, but he's super young. That's the point here. And he's coming into his own as an NBA star. I mean, this is a guy that's going to look like he's looking like an 8 to 10 time All-Star right now. The way he's playing, the guy looks like he's going to be in the league for a long time, and he probably will be. But it's put on hold just a minute, and it really couldn't get much worse because the Bucks have been playing terribly lately. They're 2-8 of their last 10. This was a team that, you know, we were looking at. They were for sure going to make the playoffs. They've fallen out. And I don't think they're getting back in, honestly. Without Jabari Parker, I don't think you got a shot at taking down, you know, because there are some hot teams in this playoff race. The Pistons are in the playoff race. They've been pretty good lately. The Miami Heat have passed the Bucks, and I don't think there's any chance to get past the Heat because the Heat are rolling. There's no reason for the Heat to slow down. But the Bucks, they did just get Chris Middleton back that same game, which is actually kind of crazy. The fact that Middleton their guy that was injured, their big injury, that was the reason why we thought, they weren't going to be that good this year. He was injured, so he just came back, and Parker's gone, and it's like, wow, it's just so brutal, and it's terrible to see, because the Bucks are another team like the Timberwolves that have a ton of potential. Those three guys are a big three in this league. Next year, the year after, these guys can make a name for themselves, and this team is gonna be great. Giannis Antetokounmpo, along with these guys, we just gotta hope and pray Giannis stays healthy, because Middleton and Parker haven't been able to stay healthy, especially Parker. Like I said, his second ACL injury, so unfortunate to see. I hope these guys, I'm praying these guys can come back and be their old selves and better, because we've seen athletes bounce back from injuries, not just in basketball, in all sports, and then we've seen athletes be a shell of their former selves. I'm just hoping that we can get the best case scenario. Now let's talk about Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine, the craziest thing about Zach Lavine's injury was the fact that he actually played 6 more minutes in the game after he tore his ACL. That might sound crazy, that might sound stupid, but I don't even think he knew. You know what? Matter of fact, he definitely didn't know, because if you knew you tore your ACL, there's no way in hell you'd be playing. Well, that's just stupid. I mean, honestly, he's lucky. I think that, there weren't any further damages on the knee, or hopefully, there weren't, because he was like, yeah, I can't play on this, but I hope that, he didn't make it worse in the process. I know that that's something that can happen if you're playing with a torn ACL. I mean, that's bad news. There's a reason why players don't play with torn ACLs, mostly because, they can't. That's what's crazy about it, I thought, was that he was literally out there playing on a torn ACL. That's just strange. That doesn't happen. We don't see that. Zach Lavine, in both of these, I guess they got fouled on the play. They were attempting layups, getting to the basket, and they just landed wrong. They took off, or Parker, I think he was taking off of his knee. He was trying to get a lift off, and Lavine was landing, and Lavine got fouled harder. And Lavine, he got fouled, and he got hit in the landing. Parker, I don't even know what happened with Parker. His footing was off, and it just didn't work out. But Zach Lavine, with this, I think that this serves the teams, and this is the part of the video where I'm going to talk about what this means for the team. For sure, this is worse on the Bucks than it is in the Timberwolves, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So the Timberwolves have a ton of young talent, and Zach Lavine, he was among the leaders in minutes played. It doesn't really serve the Timberwolves a lot better if he's there, at least just for this season. Yes, his development is in question, but if you look at Jabari Parker, it's like, well, he already tore his ACL, but he just tore his same ACL again. That's so much worse. And on top, there's more of a question how good you're going to be when you come back if you've already torn that ACL, for sure. If you tore it for the first time, there's still, a better chance that you can still be that same player or a better player or whatever. And both of these teams, I don't think it's terrible that, they're going to be bad now, and we know they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. I don't expect the Bucks or the Timberwolves to make the playoffs this year. That would be a super surprise to me. And if they don't, that's fine. I mean, they're picking up a better pick in the draft. This draft is loaded. If they make the playoffs, it's not like they have a shot anyway. It would be kind of cool to see one of these teams in the playoffs, but without that key player on their squad, it's just nothing's gonna happen. So you look at the bright side of things, you see, okay, they're gonna get a better pick in the draft. That's good for both these teams. They're already loaded with young talent. You can't have too much young talent in this league. If you do, you can trade for better players and shit like that. Like the Sixers are probably going to do, because they got too much young talent, at their big men slots. But for the Timberwolves, you get more guys to play. I mean, you get guys on your bench acclimated, and if you're not shooting for the playoffs, that's fine. You get a chance to get more guys in the rotation, discover who's really for real, who's trying to play next year, who you're going to build your team with, all stuff like that. Zach Lavine also, I did mention he hasn't torn his ACL before. So, I don't think his was as bad. I don't know. These two weren't like the worst ACL injuries you've seen, because first of all, Parker thought he sprained it. So that obviously meant, he's already torn his ACL. So maybe he didn't tear it as bad this time. If he wasn't thinking, I didn't full on tear my ACL, maybe that's what happened. Maybe he didn't tear it as bad because he actually walked off on it. And then Zach Lavine actually played on it. So, you know, there is optimism that these injuries weren't as bad as they might seem. They're still going to be out like a year and not start next season probably. They're probably going to come back middle of the year like they, you know, left middle of the year this year. But, you know, it's a terrible thing. But I'm still going to say that Parker's injury was the worst injury just because he's already torn his ACL, man. This is very rough. You don't want a guy this in. I mean, it's bad. It's very bad. And I'm hoping these guys can make a quick, healthy recovery. No harm done, hopefully, in the end. We'll see. That can do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to leave a like, comment, an idea down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.